Contact Shamras in News TV. Call of entertainment and politics update.
Hello everyone, welcome back and a happy Sunday to you all. So my people, once again, there is another video from Mr. Dele Farotimi, very powerful one indeed, which I would love you guys to watch. He talks about the problems of Nigeria as well as the solution. So he talks about the insecurity that is going on. You guys know that this is one of the pressing issues in Nigeria because it has contributed to the hardship Nigerians are going through right now, especially when it comes to food insecurity, because most of the farmers, they want to go back to farming. But because of the level of insecurity, everyone is kind of afraid to go back to farming, as well as foreign investors, my people. Like this insecurity in Nigeria has contributed like the level of hardship that Nigerians are facing right now. But the good part of it in this video is that Dele Farotimi talks about the solution, which he called peaceful revolution. But sometimes people complain that in Nigeria as of today, there's no way we can have a bloodless revolution because Nigerians, they are angry. But there's something that he said here that really got me, where he, bring out the solution, like how Nigerians supposed to go about it. So my people, let me allow you guys so that you can listen to him and hear everything that he said in this particular video. But before then, please, if today is your first time, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, share it so that other people can get opportunity to watch as well. Thanks so much for doing so.
Picked a rather naughty topic, said Nigeria solving the Ryman problem. If you're a mathematician like my brother and friend Modiu Olaguro, PhD, you would have come across the Ryman hypothesis at one point or the other in your studies. The Ryman hypothesis is one of those mathematical questions, or equation, I should say, that mathematicians are deemed irresolvable, a problem that cannot be solved. Not unlike what the Greek would refer to as a Sisyphean problem. That is when you're given a stone to roll uphill. Nigeria comes across as being something of that nature, an unresolvable problem. So over the years, you find multiple geniuses and thinkers, more temperate men than myself and women too, attempt to solve the Nigerian problem, and they ended up consumed by Nigeria because, make no mistake about it, Nigeria kills, and it kills with brutal efficiency. It doesn't just kill persons. That's routine for Nigeria. But Nigeria kills dreams, it kills visions, it kills hope. It drains the fighter of every resolve to fight a system that would appear to be relentless in its capacity to kill. Nigeria kills, and it's consumed a lot of men who have tried to solve the Nigerian problem. Or shall I say problems. But if we are to attempt to solve a problem, we must first of all have clarity as to what the problems are or is. And it is only in the knowledge of the problem, or shall we say diagnosis, that you then begin to deal with the solution or the likely solutions. So what are the Nigerian problems? The Ryman hypothesis or the Sisyphean task as it relates to Nigeria. What are these problems? Remember, I want to talk about the solutions. But it is important that we ask ourselves, what are the problems, or who are the problems? And it brings to mind the Yoruba proverb. It says, Ajala, Tanoe, a question to Ajala, who whipped you? And Ajala turned to the person asking the question You don't know. Isn't it you? So the Nigerian problem, when we ask what the problems are, I believe that we should look in the mirror both to find the problem and to find the solutions. And I think sometimes to even identify the problems, we do need some deep introspections and self-identification as well. Because we have both the problems and the solution to the problems. We have the problem of insecurity. Insecurity manifests in different ways across the length and breadth of Nigeria. But let me speak to what I know. Let me begin from where I live, my region, the southwestern part of Nigeria. In the southwestern part of Nigeria, insecurity flows from different fountains. In Lagos, it flows from the criminal capture of the state. Don't worry, it's not unique to Lagos. Lagos is not the only state that has been criminally captured, but this is where I live. So let's speak to that one since we're speaking to insecurity. A couple of days back, one of my friends on social media, yeah, I believe it was, said, no. It wasn't here. It was actually my brother, Peter Ocean. He asked the question if people still kill pickpockets in Lagos by dousing them with petrol. And some scallywag said, oh, petrol is too expensive to be wasted on robbers. And I said, actually, it goes beyond that. The boys who used to pickpocket in Lagos back in the days now work for the union, or they work for Team Lagos, or they work for one of the many criminal gangs that are required to enforce the political will of those who have captured the state. Oh yeah, NEPA did its thing. And my gen also just started burning my money in this age of blabber. So back to the subject. Those who used to pickpocket in Lagos now work for the state in different capacities and in different ways. So incidences of pickpocketing, even though still there, is either licensed by those who would, you know the story. Practically every criminal in the state, except to discount the normal everyday burglars here and there, but the real criminals who used to terrorize the state have now found different roles for their existence. You find the same NURTW structure in your state, where the one that is pretending to be Awolowo Redux holds sway. The criminal gangs have become part and parcel of the state. Let me not even go and start speaking about Ogun State. The key thing you need to understand when it comes to the insecurity we're dealing with is that in the Southwest, it's about a criminal alliance between those who govern and those who are professional street criminals. They have found alliances. They work hand in hand. I'm not speaking to Oshun because I don't live there, even though that's my home state. I can't speak to Ekiti, but you could have seen the confluence of criminals and politicians since the years of Fayose, for instance. You cannot discount the same when you go to those states. I'm not suggesting that what you see in Lagos is any different in any one of the other states in the Southwest, but that is as far as criminality is concerned. You would always get the criminals who are not working for the state, and those are the ones you would usually find chased down, paraded by the police. That is what usually happens. Now, if you go to the Southeast, you have unknown gunmen, unknown men, you have the regular IPOP, you have EPA, you have all kinds of criminals. But when you look deep, you find very quickly that the key reason that these things are there about the unaddressed grievances of those who seek citizenship but have been denied the right of citizenship, their rebellion, rightful rebellion, sometimes overtaken by criminals or criminality, and then you find copycats. Some of these were people licensed originally by politicians who were playing grievance politics in order to legalize their own powers, which were never exercised for the people. I'm speaking generally and in broad terms, and local variations might be there. But the key thing that you must understand about the violence and criminality in the Southeast is that it has its root in unresolved grievances. It has its roots in licensed militia by politicians who are seeking to control the street and thereby control the ballot and to control state power. Opuzodima in Imo State. It's not by accident that you've got a person sat in the office of the governor who came fourth in an election. Fourth in an election. And by some judicial abracadabra is there. So now tell me, how easy would it have been to evict him from that office if the state was to be at peace? But that's another story for another day. Look across the length and breadth of the Southeast. You find unresolved grievances, injustice, inequities, political brigandage, impunity being licensed, much the same as it is licensed in the Southwest for different reasons. But each one of these levels of violence that contributes to the insecurity works for persons working for the Nigerian state. Okay, let's move to the South-South. Of course, the oil story tells its own story. The fact that the Nigerian state is essentially a licensee, or is it a licensor? By the end of the day, the Nigerian government cannot operate in the Niger Delta without the license of the militias. You see these happening with the fact that it has taken a tompolo to provide security for pipelines in the Niger Delta. This in a country that is blessed with a navy, that has police, with an army, air force, and yet, in the midst of all this, oil is being stolen. Who is fooling who? So, if there was security, if there was peace in the South-South, wouldn't there be accountability? You betcha there will be. But how much easier is it to continue to steal the people blind, license impunity of the worst form, whilst pretending to be governing the people? That is the situation that the South-South is. Now, let's jump up to the Middle Belt. The Middle Belt is the way it is because Fulani militia have been granted the right of impunity by the Nigerian state, which finds it easier to deal with having millions in IDP camps than to provide security to the people. Fulani militia from all over the Sahel, roaming around with AK-47, heavily armed, and we call it farmer headers clash. What clash? It's genocide. Call it what it is. So when we talk about insecurity, jump up to the Northwest and the Northeast. And actually, a whole lot of the Middle Belt as well is about mineral resources, gold, all kind of precious stones. Criminal gangs licensed by the state, running riot, displacing people of their ancestral land because of mining interest. Go and listen to Bello Galadanchi. He's had a lot to say about this, and he wouldn't be the first to say it. Some of us have also known this for a while. The main thing, fueling banditry and Islamist terrorism in northern Nigeria are gemstones, gold. That's what it's all about. And the state is either found colluding. Go take a watch at what Bello Galadanchi had to say. A whole lot of people, David Odeyin has spoken at length about this one as well. You've got planes flying up and down the place with their transponders off, and our country is completely blind to who is flying in and who is flying out. But Bulaba and his goons will have me and you believing that they are bothered about illiterate protesters carrying Russian flags. Sometimes even the flag is not even looking Russian, but they know that in this why is Zamfara building an airport? Exactly what for? Go take a listen to Bab Galadanchi. Go and read David's work. I have more than enough to deal with. But the insecurity you see in our country is not there by accident. It's because we are ignoring what is sat right on top of our noses. We are deliberately pretending not to see what we are seeing. Because if we are admitting to what we are seeing, then we know that the bandits are not spirits. Armed robbers are not spirits. Terrorists are not spirits. The fact that our government is colluding is no longer a secret. The fact that our state is almost completely compromised because of the inability of the law to rule in any sphere of our national life is also no longer exactly a secret. The next thing is ignorance. Ignorance is not knowing what is in your own enlightened selfish interest. It's not necessarily an inability to read and write. Once you are not able to tell what is in your enlightened selfish interest, I'm not even saying that collective interest, but if it is enlightened, it is the collective selfish interest of the majority of a society that builds the society. The key thing is enlightened. Why are you looking to take more than you can eat when you can't keep anything beyond this life that you are living? Why? What for? Exactly what for? What for? So ignorance, I've seen professors, head pastors, head clerics, imams, Muslim clerics, sheikhs, speaking without enlightened selfish interest, focused on the here and now to the point where they are happy to cut down the trees that should provide food and shade for their children in the future simply because they are feeling less than one in the moment. Myopia. So once you are afflicted by myopia, Mabuk, the ignorant, and then there is poverty. Look around the country. Poverty has been weaponized against our people. People have become completely existential. So you have religion and ethnic violence all over the country, found on poverty, found on ignorance. You've got social decay, hunger. Hunger. Hunger is real. I'm not talking about hunger on account of poverty. It used to be that however poor you are, you could still eat, but this is different. This is hunger that is deeper and much worse than poverty. This is hunger that makes a man eat grass, corn husk. Yeah, that level of hunger, bordering on starvation. It wouldn't be too long before we start seeing United Nations rations to keep people from having kwashiorkor at the rate that we are going. The country has suffered a complete collapse of its infrastructure, healthcare, education, our roads, the electricity. The Nigerian electric grid, national grid has collapsed more times, I dare to say, than even Bulaba. Bulaba has collapsed only once. National grid in the last year must have collapsed at least about 10 times. Instead of complaining about the collapsing grid, they're busy laughing and driving memes about Bulaba's collapse. Energy scarcity. no electricity. Petrol has gone through the roof and you still won't find it. Our problems are endless. Our environment degraded, the hopelessness, the collapse of the state, the judicial system, everything suggests that we're in serious, deep problems. But on Thursday or Friday, I think, my friend, Mazi the raconteur, he posted a picture of me. He said, "Truth teller." One of the many detractors came around and said, "Oh, he's telling us the problem all the time. All he talks about are the problems," like I just did for the last 22 minutes. But the problems bear repetition so that we might clearly understand the unsustainability of our current trajectories. But I have tried my best to adumbrate the issues as it relates to the problem, and I will round up as far as that is concerned by simply pointing out one obvious fact. Each and every one of the things that I've talked about for the last 20 odd minutes, they are actually fruits derived from a single tree. It is the tree of impunity. A country unanchored to law drifts in multiple directions and can never have citizens, can never have a democracy, and cannot, in truth, be called a sustainable nation or state. Now, we're done with all of these, but what is the solution? Aside from the obvious answer that we must find a way to anchor our country to the rule of law, I think it is actually quite disingenuous for those that are demanding solutions of me, because I have never shied away from offering the solution from the first moment of my intervention in the public space in Nigeria. The solution is very simple. Nigeria can only be saved by a revolution. A state whose institutions have been hijacked by criminals can no longer be saved by its own mechanisms. The judiciary is demonstrably captured. It has given more than enough evidence of its incapacity to be the last hope of the common man. That is clear. The police is as complicit as any one of us. The army is already compromised beyond. Once upon a time, it pretended to be the institution that could save Nigeria from itself. But frankly, has that institution saved itself from itself? I am not a believer in military intervention in democracies. Even as imperfect, defective, fraudulent as this democracy is, even as fraudulent as our constitution is, I am not interested in a band of armed men without, please. So what I'm trying to help you understand is that all the institutions of state that could have been depended upon, where are the council of elders? Which elders? Which elder are you actually going to call? The best of the lot is Obasanjo. And actually, let's ask ourselves, who is the architect of today's wahalas? You can't look any further than Aremu. So who is the elder? Babangida? Which elder do we have? Or is it the traditional rulers appointed by local government chairmen who are essentially underlings and crooks who work for the governors and their godfathers? Which traditional rulers? Which one? How many of them can be spoken of with any reference? Are those not the ones gathered in Aso Rock when Bulaba was telling them, or rather telling them, reminding them that he bought this country, so he's a slave deed, and he bought it. So which one of them? Where is the state organ to which we might appeal for our country to be saved? The reality is that it's all gone. It is all gone. Day before yesterday, I went to Facebook, and as I went to my page, as I got to Facebook, I saw the usual thing, what's on your mind? And I realized that the only thing on my mind is how to bring about a peaceful revolution in Nigeria. I am being careful to explain this to all of us. Nigeria is already in the grip of a violent cycle superintended by the government against the Nigerian people. It is almost as if those governing Nigeria, pyromaniacs, are interested in the country burning down so that they might reinvent it in order to avoid rendering account for their stealing and for their crimes against the Nigerian people. With each successive ruiner of Nigeria, this evil becomes even more widespread and egregious, and nobody is held accountable for the previous one. 16 years, PDP assailed this country, stole and stole and stole, and after 16 years, on the back of a fraudulent agenda for change that they never explained to the people, and that all of you idiots demanding that I offer you solution today did not listen when I was warning you. Do not die in their war. These people, nothing will change. They will change nothing. It's the same people. Even the ones that call themselves the most conscious layers were fooled. I did everything I could to warn you. These ones are worse than the ones they are looking to replace. Did you listen? No. You all voted Buhari, a man who left office for 30 years. He didn't pick up a certificate. He didn't write a single book. His celibate bulls did not even pretend to multiply the barren cows. So what are you doing? You went ahead and voted for that one, surrounded by all kinds of crooks, even if you believed him to have been a saint. What about all the crooks that were surrounding him? But no, he was the saint of Dora. Look at where we are now. That one came, he committed worse crimes than the PDP. He couldn't catch a single one of the PDP thieves because all the PDP thieves came into the APC to join the crooks that were already in the APC, and you are hearing it loud and clear. Oshiomhole told you, join us and your sins are forgiven. So they joined the APC. None of the thieves could be held responsible. Akpabio became a minister in the cabinet of your saint. And then when the saint left and brought this disaster, Akpabio became the Senate president. In the chambers of your country, they are singing on your mandate we shall stand. The national anthem was changed within days, maybe like 72 hours or thereabout. National minimum wage, up until today, no implementation, but fuel is over 1,000. How do you expect anything to change with this kind of people in power? So yeah, what is on my mind is a peaceful revolution in Nigeria. There is a complete compromise already of all state institutions. And nothing stands between the people and those who have captured the powers of the state. Judiciary is dead. The military is complicit. The traditional institution is dead and compromised. The clergies are complicit. The intelligentsia is dead, and the international community pretends all of this because they are beneficiaries from the ruination of our country. So yeah, the only solution is a peaceful revolution and a peaceful resolution as well. But what is a revolution? A revolution means to turn around. I have had a lot of people coming to me to say, how can you have a peaceful revolution? The character of the revolution you seek is in your hand, and you have a duty to outline it. It is intellectual indolence of the worst form that will lead you to believe that when we talk about revolution, it must necessarily be violent. No. I have no control over what the state will do, and you already know that the state will always be violent. But if you believe that there is a need for Nigeria to turn around, this is a time when you need to be exploring non-violent options that makes it impossible for the state to visit violence on you. What happens to sit-at-homes? What happened to industrial strikes? If we all agreed that we have a need to change where we are, If we all agreed that on a particular day would sit at home for 1 week, if we all agree that there is a need for that, if we all agree that we must do something about our pathetic situation, why is it so difficult? The state is always violent. You come out on the street. That's why it always seems as if I'm speaking against protests. I have never spoken against it. I'm just pointing out the folly of protests. You can count on the police to come out and start shooting. You can count on elements of the army to be persuaded to go onto the street to kill people like they did at Lekki Toll Gate. You can count on them. There are murderous elements within the state, and they have non-state actors that they can always activate. But if you sat in your home, who is going to come and shoot you? Yeah, people die of stray bullets fired by Nigerian army and police all the time in their homes. But this is not what I'm talking about. That the state will be violent, you can predict that. You can take it for granted. But does it mean that you have to join them in their violence? And does it mean that you must allow yourself to be uncuffed and blinded to reason simply because you do not wish to offend your slave masters? What happened to the NLC? Are their members buying from different markets? Even the former BAT idiots, by now they should be receiving sense. Aren't we all buying from the same market? Are we asking for something for anyone different from what we are demanding for ourselves? It's about finding the common purpose. It's not partisan. This is not about Peter Obi. It's not about Bulaba. It's not about Atiku. It's about our country, the future of this country, the future of our children. Must we wait until the whole country goes up in smoke before we realize that we are the ones who have to come to our own aid? So yes, there are solutions. Solutions are not common. They are not usual. Those solutions demand that we use our brain. It demands that we should cooperate together as one. It demands that we should look to the next person and understand that the issues that are afflicting us are the exact same that are afflicting them. It demands that we should find common purpose. It demands that we should educate ourselves. It demands that we should come off social media. We should talk to people that we find on the street. It demands that the conscious must awaken those who are still unconscious or sleeping. It demands that we should confront ourselves with the truth, but it is not impossible. Never tell me again that non-violent protest or non-violent revolution is impossible in Nigeria. It is very possible. Stop defeating yourself. It is not beyond our intellectual capacity as human beings. We can do it. We've done it before. During the June 12th struggle, we did it. We spoke to ourselves across the length and breadth of this country. Yes, there were divisions. You're never going to get 100%. All you ever require is a critical mass. Isn't there a critical mass of people with enough brains in this country to understand the need to find common purpose? Does the need to self-preserve not inform us that we must do something before this ship sinks completely because it's already taken in water? What more do you need before you are persuaded of the need for drastic, radical action? Violence pays the system. It plays into their hands. Eschew violence, but be firm in declaring your rights as human beings and find common purpose with your neighbors. All this is Igbo, is Yoruba, is Hausa, is Fulani, is Ijo. Who is the person in Nigeria who is not suffering from the same thing that is afflicting all of us? Is there a tribe immune to hunger? Is there any immune to impunity? Is there any religion that is not feeling the bite of insecurity? Terrorists are going into mosques, killing people. You call them Islamic terrorists. Can't you use your brain? They kill Christians, they kill Muslims. They are just bandits looking to enforce the will of their masters who are mining. They murder in broad daylight and the police do nothing. It's all across the country. The issues that you need to understand is that we have a duty to inform ourselves. We have the duty to challenge ourselves with the truth. We have the duty to educate ourselves about the issues. And then we have a sacred duty to mobilize ourselves around common purposes. How many Bangladeshi did you see carrying guns before they successfully executed their revolution? How many Kenyans did you find carrying guns? The ones hauling stones, I saw them, and you can never rule out the extreme elements, and I have no condemnation for anyone who is fighting against oppression. But at the end of the day, it is always the state that resorts to violence when it has lost the legitimacy to rule, something this government has never had. No legitimacy to rule. And it's not just about rigging election, it's about the foundation of the state itself. The fraudulent constitution of 1999, which declares that we, the people, which people? Which people? Where? But that is not the issue for today. The key thing is we must move beyond the mental block that tells us that we cannot have a revolution because the revolution is violent. The revolution does not have to be violent. And even for the students of revolution or those who declare themselves revolutionaries without any understanding of revolutionary thinking, maybe you should go Google the word Mensheviks. Perhaps it'll teach you a thing or two. Not everyone with revolutionary idea believes in violence and have to believe in violence. There is always another way. Violence plays into the hands of the state. Organize yourselves properly. Find the common purpose. How many are they? How many are we? And are they the enforcers of the will of the oppressors, not buying from the same market as you and me? Are their children properly mobilized, not going to be part and parcel of any movement for change? Are they themselves not Nigerians? Aside from the upper echelon of the security forces who are living as pashas, why is the enforcers of the rules, the privates, the sergeants, the corporals are living in abject poverty and penury? Please, let's be clear. It is intellectual indolence and cowardice that will lead anyone to believe that we cannot have a peaceful revolution. We can. It is not beyond our capacity to understand what is in our enlightened selfish interest. And we should find them quickly, because the night is coming. My brother and friend, Ademola Adesina Ogunlana, may God rest his soul. He will be buried this week. However long we live, we all will die. He lived well. He fought valiantly. Ultimately, as with all men, he is dead today. Continue believing that some Savior is coming to save me and you tomorrow. We will die as he has died. He never believed any Savior was coming. He always believed it was up to us. And it remains up to us. Me, you. If you're looking for the problems of Nigeria, look in the mirror. And if you are finding the solutions to Nigerian problems, also look in the mirror. It's me and you. Together, we can solve it, or we can remain victims. Have a blessed week ahead. God bless you. Amen.
Welcome to Shammer Seniors TV. Come on,